Hi, welcome back to the channel. So we're reading The Smart Money Tribe by Arese, our favorite girl, and we're currently in chapter 2. Financial abuse is a thing. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Zuri. Zuri walked past a sea of blue and red Ankara, fascinated by the manic hustle for everything from food to party gifts. The spicy aroma of jollof rice being cooked by firewood in a big metal pot wafted past, making her nostrils twitch involuntarily. She couldn't blame them. There was nothing sweeter than freshly made party jollof. As she found her way back to her friend's table, she watched Lara gracefully go through the motion of being a host, asking guests about their welfare and making sure that the edibles and drink continued to flow. It was a miracle that the girl was still standing because as soon as her mother had been diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer, things had escalated rather quickly. At first, the doctors had been cautiously optimistic that aggressive chemotherapy would work, but after months of treatment, it had become clear that Lara's mom wasn't going to survive. It had been a hellish few months. Lara's four friends had watched her go from oncologist to oncologist, seeking a second, third, or even fourth opinion. She even went as far as sending her mom's test result and blood work to a specialist in South Africa and London to see if there were alternative treatments. But her mom's age and the fact that she was a late stage cancer were limiting factors. It had been tough to watch, but they all understood that Lara's mom was her best friend, and their friend would do anything in her power to keep her alive. Still, as much as she admired Lara's strength through this ordeal, Zuri was worried about her dealing with both the death of her mother and the loss of her job simultaneously. It was a lot of it was a lot for person to take. Lara couldn't admit it though, and every time she was asked how she was faring, she would shrug and say, okay. Her friends knew better because she had stopped eating, and Zuri reckoned she had lost at least 20 pounds. Her usually skinny, thick frame was now ridge thin and borderline unhealthy. A few pounds were one thing, but all five friends were constantly trying to lose as all five friends were constantly trying to lose weight or stay healthy. But the watch showed stress. The circles underneath her eyes were dark and more than obvious, and one could tell she hadn't slept in weeks. Her usually supple golden skin was now sallow and wan. Zuri snapped out of her reverie to see Ladun and Bode approaching the table. Ladun with food in hand, while Bode carried the drinks and glasses. Ladun sat and set the tables down and set the plate down on the table, clearly having gone to town on the buffet. But this plate was piled with pounded yam, egusi, and snails, while hers was mixed with jollof and fried rice, plantain, coleslaw, and two rather juicy looking pieces of fried meat. She plunked herself next to Zuri. Uh-uh, why are you sitting here all by yourself? Bode smiled and waved his hello as he too sat and began to dig into his meal. Zuri smiled back. She often thought about how, despite how different these two were, they still functioned as one unit. It was inspiring to watch them go through their biggest financial setback after bodies that passed with such a grace and determination. In the past year and a half, they had weathered turmoil that would have broken a less devoted couple, but they were a team and their marriage was stronger for it. Hmm, I don't know, Zuri replied. Last I checked, Adeswa was distributing souvenirs to the guests, and Tammy and I were serving Lara's relatives food and drinks. Then it all got a bit too hectic for me, so I just came to sit down and sip my palm wine. I cannot come and kill myself. My sister, tell me about it, Ladum exclaimed. I'm not quite sure how Lara has dealt with these people's drama in the last couple of months. They are beyond dramatic. She's a saint. If it were me, I would have given them a piece of my mind a long time ago. Ladon scanned the faces under the crowded canopy, then asked, Where's Tishola? I haven't seen him. He had to work, Zuri replied shortly. She felt a little awkward that Tishola was not there. He had come to the service of songs yesterday and made a brief appearance at Ikoyi Cemetery when the body was being laid to rest. But he had made his apologies and left for a big meeting that he had said he couldn't miss no matter what. Their relationship had progressed nicely in the last year plus, but the guy was a workaholic. She had gotten used to him not being there for important events her friends were having or cancelling plans suddenly because he had to fly to Abuja or Paris to attend impromptu meetings. At first, she used to get upset and throw tantrums, but Tishola reminded her each time that if she didn't want a busy man, she should end up she would end up with a poor one. And he had no intentions of being poor, and she had better get in with the program. That's word. Our word for today is if you don't want to end up with if you want a busy man, you would if you don't want a busy man, you end up with a poor one. Word. It looks like Adesoa and Tammy had rescued Lara from her relatives, Ladum whispered. Please tell that guy to move so there is enough seat for them. She pointed to a guy who had placed his plate on the table and was getting ready to sit. Zuri hustled over and pleaded with him to move to the other side of the table. He said nothing, but eyed her as he reluctantly moved to sit elsewhere. Zuri and Ladum exchanged knowing looks and started laughing. Please, sit down, no. This guy almost beats me for this seat, Zuri said as the three girls approached the table. Which guy? Adesuwa laughed as he scanned the table. Aren't the tables assigned? Don't worry. Unnecessary drama. He has vamoosed. Zuri responded. Trust me, it can't be worse than the drama Tammy and I just experienced. Adeswa shook her head as she sat down and scooted forward in her chair. Lara, your relatives are something else, Adeswa continued. Can you imagine that I was going around giving the gift bag with souvenirs in them to each person. Your Uncle Festus' wife kept calling me back and saying, You haven't given my friend or me. Are we not important? Abi it's only important Lagos people that you are giving. I was weak for the woman. Oh. I hadn't even gotten to her table yet. Adeswa, please, your own is good, Tammy chimed in, looking disgruntled. At least it was souvenirs. Granted, just notebooks, plastic bowls, and key holders, but at least they are gifts. Lara, I saw Auntie Kechi and her church friends packing jollof inside nylon and stuffing them in their handbag. You would think they don't have food in their houses. Plus, they kept lying to the poor waiters that they hadn't been served food and telling them off each time. The friends all looked at each other and busted into a fit of giggles. Lara had a weary smile on her face and she said, Leave my relatives alone, no. This is mild compared to what they have done in the last couple of months. They have shown me pepper. I'm just glad it's over. They will all go back to their relative houses now. She turned to Zuri. Did Tishola make it to the meeting? Yes, I think so. I haven't spoken to him since we got here. It was hard to tell that Zuri was disappointed that he wasn't here. I'm sorry he couldn't be here, Lara, but you know how the boy is about his work. He loves you though. You know that, right? He would have been here to support if he could have. My dear, he has done more than enough support. Clara rubbed her friend's shoulder soothingly. Your boy gave me a check of 1 million naira at the service of songs yesterday. I was in shock when I opened it at home. Please thank him for me. You know I'm jobless right now, so every little bit helps. You are joking, Zuri exclaimed, surprised. Why did Tishola behave like this? You know, he didn't even mention giving you a check to me. Tammy raised her brows and nodded with approval at the gesture. Correct guy. He just performs. No need to make noise. Ladon was grateful that Bode was not on the table at the moment. After he had finished his meal, he had left them to their gang banter and went to meet a family friend he had spotted earlier. He might have been embarrassed because he hadn't been in the position to give Lara that kind of money right now because but he had done the important thing and been supportive in his own way. Besides, they had all contributed as much cash as they could afford towards the funeral. Meanwhile, how's the job search going, babes? Zuri asked, placing her hand over Lara that still rested on her shoulder. Any luck? Man, it's tough out there. It's been a few months, but I've been distracted with funeral arrangement. I've sent my CV out to colleagues in the industry and I've gotten a few referrals and interviews, but so far I haven't found a good fit. Uh-uh. Which one is good fit again? Tammy said. Is it not a job you are looking for? I beg. I'm looking for a job, but I don't want to enter one chance. It's either the wrong role, the company looks a little dodgy, or the pay cut is too much. You are proud though, Ladun laughed. People are looking for jobs. Any jobs really. And you are here being choosy. I'm not being choosy, love. I just know my worth. Lara shrugged. I may be jobless, but I've spent the last 10 years building my career, my experience, and my skills. So I know what I have to bring to the table. I'll admit I'm running out of savings pretty quickly, and I need to find something soon because before things get desperate. I totally agree with you, babe. Adeswa said, the right fit is important. There's no job to jump. There's no need to jump from one job to another every 6 months. Plus, with all your experience, any company worth their salt will be lucky to have you. Lara tamped down her worry and told her friends, anyway, I have an interview this week and it looks promising. So look all she looked all at the four women grateful for their constant support. They had all been there for her in these grueling months, every single one of them. A few hours later, as the guests left and the vendors were clearing up their belongings, reality started to set in as Lara looked at her phone, already filled with emails and text messages from vendors with their account details, reminding her that the balance of their money needed to be paid. She looked up to see a black Mercedes Benz G Wagon driving into the compound. Who is this one? Lara thought. The reception was over, and she was in no mood to start entertaining latecomers. It was dark, which made it difficult to make out who it was from where she was sitting. As the figure drew closer, she couldn't believe her eyes. Am I seeing things? Or is that Deji Suleiman? Lara, a familiar, deep, sexy baritone voice called out as he approached her. Deji, oh my god, it's you, Lara exclaimed in shocked delight. I thought I was seeing things. What are you doing here? I was in a friend's office in Abuja this morning and I heard you lost your mom and that the funeral was today. I came to give you my condolence and pay my respect. But unfortunately, I can't stay. Why now? Stay for a drink at least. I'm on my way back to the airport. I have to be in Geneva in the morning. He handed her an envelope. Oh, thank you. It's a pity you have to run. We'll catch up when I'm back. He gave her a hug before returning to his car. This was the first time she had seen Deji Suleiman in at least 3 years. She smiled wistfully, wandering down memory lane to their first meeting during a cocktail at the OTC conference in Houston. He was being flirty, brilliantly entertaining, and they had definitely vibed. They had exchanged numbers, but then she found out he was a billionaire and was very married, with at least two children. So she kept her distance. But they said hello at oil and gas events when they bumped into each other. It was an absolute shock to see him tonight. What was even more shocking was that when she opened the envelope, she saw a check of 5 million naira. Well done, dear, Bolali praised, interrupting her thoughts. It's finally over, so now you can have some breathing room. You really tried. It was hectic. Thank you so much, Lara smiled sadly. You've been great. Bolanle Okunsanya Feita was a third generation funeral director of TLTJ Funeral Homes and had been very helpful with information as well as allowing Lara to pay in installments. I just wish you had taken a funeral plan years ago or had life insurance for your mom, Bolanle mused. It would have made things so much easier and much less expensive. I tell all my friends these are things to think about as their parents start aging. I know, Lara said with regret. But the truth is, no one wants to confront death. I guess in my mind, my mom was old, but not that old yet. I had imagined many more years with her, or of her seeing me walk down the aisle, and of her carrying her grandchildren. It still stung every time she thought about the fact that her mom was gone. I will never experience any of these things with her. Anyway, I'm leaving, but I wanted you to have the invoice, Bolanle said. Thank you again for being so helpful and understanding, especially about the money. Don't worry, I'll pay it all off very soon. Let me just get things together. I understand Bolanle was not unsympathetic to Lara's predicament, but she was a businesswoman after all. In fact, I just got a surprise gift of 5 million. I'll transfer it to you as soon as I pay it in. Thank you so much, Bolanle said. I appreciate that. Even though it is not my usual policy for payments to linger, I trust you because you've been so transparent and kept your words every single stage. It's refreshing. She gave her a hug before she walked away. As she stood at the entrance of her own, she placed the envelope she opened the envelope to reveal an invoice from LTJ breaking down the cost of the funeral. Her eyes widened with shock when she saw the balance highlighted in red at the bottom of the invoice. Her heart started speeding. The total cost was 12.5 million naira. How? How did I possibly rack up this bill for a funeral? She had put down an initial deposit for 2 million naira and paid in smaller installments during the months of planning. 1.6 million naira for a casket, Lara shouted. She couldn't believe her eyes. Was this a joke? Was the casket made of gold? She had a vague recollection of Auntie Nkechi insisting on the imported casket. In her grief, she had allowed her to have her way, not paying much attention to the cost. Between Auntie Nkechi and Uncle Festus, they had only received a she had only received a begrudging single check of 250,000 naira, and she suspected that she had gotten that only because they had found out Auntie Ifeoma had given money to support her and they didn't want to look bad. They needed to be able to tell their friends that they had contributed to their sister's burial. She knew asking them for more would be a futile mission. There were other costs involved. If it's me, I would have returned the money back to them. There were other costs involved. The burial plot cost 1.5 million, but thankfully, a part of her deposit had gone towards that. The marble head for the gravesite cost 500,000. The Hesse rental was 120,000. Decorations lying in state and cost another 150k. The mortuary bill was another headache. It had cost 50k for embalmment and 200 naira per day to keep the body in the mortuary, which with all the arguments between her mother's siblings, the body had stayed in the mortuary for months, and the list went on and on. They had all looked like small amounts at the time, but together was a monster bill. Even with the generous donation from Deji Suleiman, Tishola, she had and her close friends, she needed at least another 8 million naira to clear her debt. This gbese is a lot. It is. Zuri. Zuri gazed out of her car window as Tishola parked his Range Rover in the car park beside the Lekki Ikoyi Link Bridge. It read 5:43 a.m. on the radio clock, and Tishola liked to run between 5:30 and 6 in the morning before the sun rose to heat up the fit farm aficionados. There was the slightest hint of dawn as they reached the bottom of the bridge, and combined with the street lights and the obnoxious glares from the digital billboard that sat at the bottom of the bridge, their path was well lit. She didn't have the same zeal or stamina for running as Tishola did, but when she slept over at his house, it was easier to get up and go instead of dealing with the guilt of feeling like a lazy sod when he came back home from his run. As they approached the toll gate, Tishola sped up and she didn't even try to keep up. He always ran a full 2 laps on the bridge, slowing down to keep her company as she completed her single lap for a few minutes before racing to the end. As she watched his deliciously athletic build embark on the journey to conquer the bridge, her heart lunged in her chest, and she felt the heat rise in her neck and a few other places. Ooh. It was crazy how he still had that effect on her after almost 2 years of dating. Tishola was tall, dark skinned, a bona fide member of the Idris Elba sect of the Beard Gang, and he had tight muscles on every inch of his body. Oof, heat. She came to the end of her run and approached the bottom of the bridge, where Tishola was. already doing a series of stretches as he cooled down. Well done, babe. Tishola smiled as she jogged up to him. You are improving. Your stamina and your time are definitely better these days. At least, I didn't have to wait for you 10 extra minutes at the bottom of the bridge, he said teasingly as he poked her in the rib with his index finger. Zuri gave him a teasing glare. Stop, Joe. If you like, don't wait. All these billionaires will collect your girlfriend on this bridge. Then your eyes will clear, she joked. Ah, look at this girl. You don't know that I'm almost a billionaire, Tishola laughed. My dear, you should be worried about your competition on this bridge. The women that's the women that are wearing half tops who can run faster than you and are flirting with your boyfriend. Zuri glared at him. A grinning Tishola continued chickenly. Ah, are you angry? You see, you can start it, but you can't finish. You are lucky I love you, and I don't have eyes for any other woman trying to finesse their way into my bed, he said as he took her hands in his and kissed the back and he led her towards the car. As they joked, Zuri mentally braced herself as she got into the Range Rover. I need to talk to you about something, Zuri said as she settled into the passenger seat. It's not a big deal, but I need to get it off my chest. I'm listening. Obina and Teju found land that's perfect for the Yaba development. It's about 16,000 square meter and it has good road access and drainage. Sounds great. What's the catch? Well, turns out the land belongs to Sani's Olumide's family. Right. His expression instantly flipped from interested to stony. The team have been dealing with their agent, and the demands are becoming ridiculous by the day. Can you believe they want to choose the construction company as well as get 100 million naira upfront on on top of that, on top of the unit we are offering them as part of the joint venture? I see. That tone was glacial. Mr. Tunde wants me to lead the negotiation because I have a prior relationship with the family. There's an uncomfortable silence. Say something, Zuri said softly. What would you like me to say? Tishala's voice was tightly leashed, but there was something off in his tone as he continued. That I'm uncomfortable with the fact that you want to use your relationship with your ex-boyfriend to negotiate. Tishala, I'm not using my relationship with my ex-boyfriend to negotiate. Zuri replied firmly. My boss thinks we have a better chance at getting better terms because I have a prior relationship with the family. Same thing. Tishala, it works. I'm trying to be upfront with you about it. What do you want me to say, Zuri? He snapped. We both know that we all know that entitled shit is going to use this as an opportunity to get back in your life. Zuri understood Tishola's irritation because over the course of their relationship, Olumide has tried a few times to get back with her. He constantly pushed at her boundaries in ways that were completely inappropriate, hugging her a few seconds too long when he bumped into her when he bumped into her and Tishala at a party, and occasionally sending unsolicited gifts of flowers and jewelries. Tishala found him disrespectful and couldn't stand him. Babe, you just have to trust me. Only might be inappropriate because that is who he is. But you'd have to trust that I wouldn't let him cross his line. Zuri, it's not about trusting you. It's about not putting yourself in a compromising situation with a guy you already know has inappropriate intentions. If you're waiting for me to say it's okay, that I'm okay with it because it's work, you'll be waiting a long time. Let Obina and Teju lead the negotiation. If it wasn't, if you went there, that's what would have happened, isn't it? Yes, well, I am there. You just have to trust me, I can handle myself. If you respect me or our relationship, you let Obina or Teju deal with Olumide. Tishola said with finality. You don't want I don't want you to fight. I don't want to fight. Neither do I. You wanted my opinion. That's how I feel about the situation. I've heard you, Zuri said flatly, and turned to look out the window. They sat in silence for the rest of the car ride to Shola's house. Zuri, as she stepped out of her car, Zuri smoothed her CP woman skirt and rifled through her bag to find her sunglasses. Even though the entrance to Shiro was only a short distance from where she had parked, and would have to take them off as soon as she stepped into the restaurant. She felt like $1,000,000, and her dark mud shade always gave her that extra ginger that made her feel like a badass. The five friends had made it a point to meet at a restaurant at least twice a month so that they could catch up on each other. Between WhatsApp and Instagram, it was easy to forget that you hadn't actually seen your friends in a while. And this would be the first time they are meeting up since Lara's mom's funeral. She was greeted by the usual friendly waiter and followed him as he led her to the favorite window side seat. She scanned the room to see if she knew anyone that was dining. Lara and Ladum already arrived. The rest of the room was filled with expatriates no one she recognized. Hey loves, Zuri breezed in and kissed both women before she sat down. Uh-uh, you look nice, Lara said. You didn't come to play with anyone today, oh. Nice bag. Is it new? Yes, so Zuri placed her new Chanel bag on the table. But you should see the Birkins I'm about to order. It's lovely. Present from Tishola, Ladum asked, her face lighting up. Nope. Present from me. Zuri was gleeful. My reward for closing the financial deal for Richmond. Hmm. You seem to be rewarding yourself a lot these days, Lara said as she perused I don't know this word, sorry. As she perused the menu, Ladum laughed. Is this shade? Is that shade? Lara asked. Sorry, I'm lost. I'm lost. Whew. Okay, let's do this over. Is that shade? Zuri said. Nah, babe, just facts. Lara responded. In the last couple of months, you've bought everything from Jimmy Choo's to Louis Vuitton to Balmain. Then the other day, you said you were saving for a Birkins that bankers showed you. Uh-uh, are you counting my money? Zuri cut her off sharply. Not exactly. I'm just saying slow down, Lara replied. When you tally everything you've spent, do you have the relative equivalent in savings and investment? In the words of Jay-Z, you can only afford something if you can buy it twice. Leave zero alone, Joe. Ladum chimed in. Is it your money? See me see trouble, oh, Zuri retorted defensively. Of course, I have savings, but don't I have a right to spend my hard-earned money? I'm just rewarding myself for working really hard on that deal. Okay, oh, Kim Kardashian, Lara laughed. First of all, the deal you closed puts money in Richmond Development account, not yours. Second of all, I'm just saying, be cautious so you don't regress into old habits and ruin all the work you've done to get out of debt. Look at me. One day I was buying Chanel, paying international school fees, and the next I'm jobless and looking for assets to sell. I was saving and investing. I thought I had financial security, but in the middle of my crisis, I realized I had not been saving and investing enough, especially in comparison to my income. I have been cautious, ma, Zuri replied, a touch defensive. I save towards these things. I'm not borrowing to buy them. Thank you very much. See, you're getting upset over a few simple questions because you know I'm right, Lara said. I'm just asking you, after you bought the bag, which is roughly the equivalent of 5 million when you convert it to naira, do you have 5 million naira left in your savings? Do you have to had the grace to look a little bit sheepish? Um, I don't know. Actually, the reality is to spend 5 million on a bag, you should have at least 10 times that amount on in assets because you are not Kim Kardashian. The babe is worth approximately $350 million. So when she spends $15,000 on a bag, it's basically a blip. Okay, oh, Lara Forbes, Zuri snorted catily. I'm serious. The most ironic thing is that she probably gets a lot of these luxury items for free from the designers because she's a celebrity. And people like you, who don't earn 1% of what she earns, want her wardrobe. I feel like you're being judgmental. Do I have to be do I have to be as rich as her before I can start treating myself for a few things? Zuri clapped back annoyed. Listen, I'm just saying money in your account doesn't necessarily mean you can afford the bag. Yes, I'm proud of you for not going into debt, spending more than your salary every month you are saving. But don't you save to spend? Save to build? I'm just worried you are spending more than you are building assets. Lara words gave Zuri pause, but she sat there stubbornly silent. Sensing that she was ruining the mood, Lara laughed and tried to diffuse the situation. Anyway, let me shut up. I can barely afford the meal right now, with all the gbese on my head. So you guys are paying FYI. I gotcha, Zuri laughed. Judgmental brokers. I bet I should save the money for your meal too. If I slap you, Lara teased back. Tammy is late, Ladum observed, changing the subject. I'm not surprised, but I wonder what is keeping Adeswa. She's usually the most punctual one of us. Thank you, Sam, Ladum said as their waiter brought a bottle of sparkling water and glasses with ice and lemon, which they hadn't ordered, but she instinctively knew they needed. You are always on point. I beg no vex. Please help me take a picture. No problem, ma, Sam said with a smile. He was used to their part he was used to his part-time photographer duty from their crew. Please take one from that angle as well. Ladun pointed, giving him directions. This posing and posturing got them amused glances from a few guests, but this had been normal. Thanks to the advent of social media, Instagram in particular, that generation felt a need to document every single event or adventure, no matter how minute. If it's not on the gram, did it really happen? Zuri laughed. Tammy and Adeswa are now at least 20 minutes late, Ladun said, glancing at their watch as the spirit of mischief took over her. Instead of calling them, let's post one of the pictures on Instagram, tag them, and use the caption to call them out for their lateness, she suggested. Just then, they saw Tammy walking towards the table. You are very early, oh, madam, Zuri said, with mock disdain. I beg, leave me, Joe. You won't believe the day I've had. Tammy flopped into her seat, clearly exasperated. Zuri rolled her eyes. Tam, Tam, You are always late. Leave story. She laughed. My only surprise is that you are here before Ajiswa. Trust me, this is different. Let's just say I had a meeting with my accountant that didn't go so well, and the traffic was horrendous. Isn't it always? Lara sipped on her sparkling water and reviewed the menu, trying to decide what to order. Adesha was on Adeola Odeku Street last I checked, so she should be here any minute, Tammy explained. A few seconds later, Adesha walked in, gracefully collapsing into her seat, and said to the waiter, I'll just have a chicken salad, she ordered, looking frazzled. I'm so sorry for being late, guys, she said apologetically. It's been a hell of a day. Plus, the traffic was insane. Are you okay? Lara asked as Sam took their menu away after taking their orders. I'm starting to worry about you, hon. You've been a bit distracted these days. I'll be fine. I've just had a lot to deal with. Actually, I have something to confess, she said as she looked at their faces. Not to confess per se, because it's my life. I feel guilty that I have been keeping it from you. Tammy and Zuri laughed. What did you do at this one? Ladu said. "Phew." Okay, okay, Adeswa inhaled deeply, nervous. Soji and I have been back together for 2 months, she said as she hid her face behind her hand. On a trial basis, she insisted. What? Lara exploded. You can't be serious. After everything Adeswa, the rest of the girls looked at each other, aghast. There's more, Adeswa said. He took out 1 million from our joint account that was meant for Soji's school fees and still hasn't given me explanation why. Now I don't know what to do. I even tried to ask his mom for advice, but you know what how that goes. She said he's a man and I shouldn't be questioning him. She looked at their shocked faces. Lara, listen, I don't need your judgment right now. I just need your help. Her friends were accustomed to Soji and his mother's antics by now. Even when her son was doing not something fundamentally wrong, she continued to blindly support him. She hadn't done him any favors. His awful behavior would be clear to everyone else, but his mom would find some village wisdom to twist a Bible scripture to justify his actions. If it wasn't so terrifyingly awful, the whole debacle would have been quite amusing to watch. Forget Soji's mom for a minute. I'm still trying to wrap my head around why you took him back. Let me see. A man cheated on you with an 18-year-old, stole all your money, left you in debt, and then ran off with his child mistress. Lara counted off. Explain to me, Adeswa. How does this decision make any sense? Now, you're surprised that he took SJ's school fees. Lara hissed and turned her face away. Hand on her cheeks. I have nothing else to say. We moved past all of that because, if I'm really honest, I don't want to be divorced. I'd rather work on my marriage and try to have another baby. I told him frankly that, besides good behavior, he would have to go through the IVF process again. It was one of the conditions for us getting back together. And he agreed. Tammy, Zuri, and Ladum exchanged looks and all reached out to hold her hand. It was tough watching Adesua go through all of this. Her husband's infidelity, issues with her mother-in-law, secondary infertility. It was like life refused to give her a break. They could only be thankful that she was no longer secretive about her struggles and could talk to them openly. Now they could support her. Although now he refuses to contribute financially to the process. He says he doesn't have money. Adeswa continued. And guys, this thing is expensive. I feel like I just got out of the hole of paying off his debt, and now I seem to be sinking into another one. But I want this so badly. Is it so wrong to want to fight for my marriage? Adeswa, there's fighting and there's allowing yourself to be used, Lara said pointedly. I like Lara. Listen, I saw Soji at Kakun on Thursday night. Kukun, Tammy told them, and their table was not a small boy's table. Like I'm talking at least 10 bottles of clean cut. Mm. I couldn't even count the bottles of Remy Martins they kept bringing to the table. How in God's name can he say he doesn't have money? She asked. Usually, Soji would tell me he didn't contribute, that his friends are the ones that bought the drinks, Adeswa said, shaking her head. But this time, he actually had the effrontery to use 1 million from our joint account to pay for drinks at that lousy place. But that's the part I don't understand, Adeswa, Zuri said in consternation. Why does he still have access to your money? You guys take it easy. Ladon tried to cool the conversation down. He's still her husband. So? Tammy rolled her eyes. I don't know. I just thought he had changed, Adeswa. Dejected shoulders dropped even further. I wanted to show him that I trusted him. After what he did the last time, Lara said in disbelief. I never said I had forgotten about that, Adeswa replied. But you still give but you still gave him access to your money. Zuri tilted her head forward pointedly. Are you paying off his debt? This was the reason I didn't want to tell you guys, Adeswa said defensively. I don't need the judgment. No one is judging you, Adeswa. Lara struggled to hide the anger in her voice. She lost. Actually, I take that back. I am judging you. I judge you for enabling the man's bad behavior. Even if you decide you want to be married to that demon, at least be smart with your money. Lara, calm down. Your blood is hot though. Ladum suit. She agreed with them, but she could sympathize with the difficulty of Adeswa's situation. Soji wasn't just a boyfriend, he was her husband and the father of her child. Sorry, but I agree with Lara on this one, Tammy said. This is financial abuse, Adeswa. You need to break it off. Easy for you to say, Adeswa lashed out with contempt. You aren't married. The conversation was spiraling into a shouting match and accusation. Zuri felt like she had to intervene before it got even more heated and lines got crossed. She had known the statement would trigger Lara and Tammy. Please, let's talk about something else, Zuri said. There was an awkward silence. So, Tammy, what were you doing out on Thursday night? My friend, be quiet. Tammy gamingly took the baton from Zuri's question, doing her part to lighten the mood. Were you not my partner in crime in the waka until Tishola came into the picture? Plus, Thursday nights at Cocoons with DJ Sparrow are always lit. I'm still your partner in crime, Tammy. Zuri interjected, more humor that she was feeling, more humor than she was feeling in her voice. It's just that these days I only have the energy to go out on the weekends. I can't imagine going out on a weeknight and having to go to work the next day. Please, are you minding this one? We are no longer spring chickens, Ladun chimed in. Those days of partying from Thursday to Sunday like it's 2004 are long gone, and none of us can keep up with Tammy. Besides, we're employees, she's an entrepreneur. When you are the boss, I guess you can work when you feel like it. I, on the other hand, Hate my god-forsaken new job, she groaned. I wish that was the case, Tammy sighed. At least you're getting a steady salary. I'll admit, when I first started this entrepreneurship journey, it was because I didn't want to answer to anyone. I wanted to be my own boss, call the shots, work in my own time. Ah, my own time, Ladum sighed. Words I may never hear again because of that witch at work, Belema. You guys, I miss waking up at 10 in the morning. I wish I was my own boss. Lara and Zuri laughed. Zuri gave her an amused look. Ladum, being your own boss is not about waking up at 10. You just need to find purpose in your work. Babe, I personally think you haven't given the job a chance. I've met Belema, and she's not that bad. Exactly, Lara said. I've told her she needs to change her perspective. She's just waking up and attending work. Her mind and soul are not there. Abeg, leave me, Ladum said as she rolled her eyes. Which one is attending work again? Trust me, I learnt the hard way, Tammy said. Waking up at 10 became skipping work a lot because it was just a hobby. But even you guys have to admit that I have changed. I've been busy, I've been busting my ass in the past year to build this business. Still, I feel like I must be making all the wrong decisions because I can't seem to catch a break. Every time I think I'm taking a leap forward, a ton of brick comes tumbling down. They all nodded their heads in agreement. Tammy had really turned a corner and now spent her time constantly implementing new ideas to grow her business. In fact, Irawa was now easily a top 10 Nigerian fashion brand. As soon as she decided to focus on it more and actually do the work, her her star began to truly shine. Brides wanted her to design their wedding dresses. Celebrities wanted her creations so they could stand out on the red carpet. Everybody was after Irawo if her 300,000 followers on Instagram and multitude of global customers were anything to go by. Oh, honey, you're doing well. These things take time, Zuri said. She's right. You just have to be patient, Adesua said. But what exactly is the issue there? How can we help? It just feels like I'm failing at every turn. If it's not the generator that breaks down, the customers are not paying. Maybe I should just give it up because this business is not for me. Sympathetic, Zuri's tone softened. Now you're being dramatic, Tam. I know I said take it easy, but nothing can be that bad. It's just business and everyone makes mistakes. You just have to dissect the problem and look at what went wrong, what you could have done better, and do your best to improve going forward. I wish it were that easy, Tammy said. My accountant just told me that we have no cash. And let's just say after this, the bank of daddy will be closed for a while. Your dad has always supported all your endeavors, Tammy. Zuri laughed. He's not going to stop now. Trust me, he's definitely going to stop supporting my business financially, Tammy said. He told me categorically that if he didn't see any profit from this last 1 million he gave me, that would be the last contribution to my quote hobby. There's a huge demand for my work, especially on social media, but for some reason, I'm just not seeing the profit. I don't know what to do anymore. Girl, it's not easy. Entrepreneurship is tough, but I'm sure you'll figure it out, Adiswa said. Maybe you should talk to someone. A consultant? Don't worry, Joe. You've come this far, Lara said. You'll figure it out. In fact, I know one business coach. He's really good. I'll send you his number. Thanks, babe, Tammy said. I would appreciate that. I need all the help I can get. Meanwhile, I have gist, Lara whispered conspiratorially. Oh yes, spew. Zuri leaned in to hear more. Is it about the man? New toaster? Ladum asked. Not really, Lara tore a piece of bread and dipped into olive oil on the table. Remember that guy, Deji Suleiman, the one I met at the OTC in Houston like 3 years ago? The billionaire that turned out to be married, Adeswa asked. Yup, that one. He came to the funeral and gave me a check of 5 million naira. Ah, stop it, Tammy's clothes. You are lying, just like that. Tammy, he's a billionaire, Adeswa said. That's not a big deal for him. The real question is, what does he want in return? Madam, calm down, Ladum said. It's her mother's funeral. It isn't out of place for him to give her money towards it. Must he want something? Well, to be fair, he used to fancy her. So there's a real possibility he wants something, Tammy said. But let's give him the benefit of doubt. Zuri chuckled. Those funeral costs were not a joke, Lara sighed. His generosity was not unwelcomed. Just be careful, Sha Lara, Adeswa continued. These men always want something in return. Remember, he's married. The girl's attention turned to Sam as he came to the table carrying a tray with decadent chocolate desserts they hadn't ordered. Compliments of the chef, he announced as he presented the treats with a flourish. All the girls mouthed their thank you to the chef as he waved his back. He always treated them like rock stars every time they visited.